The Taliban came to Swat Valley in 2007 when Malala was 10. Their local leader, 28-year-old Maulana Fazlullah, set up a radio station, Mullah FM. At first, his broadcasts offered handy hints on how to be a better Muslim, but they soon got fierier, and his interpretation of Islamic law was iffy at best. Many Pashtuns didn't fully understand the Arabic of the Holy Quran. That's because Pashtuns speak Pashto, not Arabic. Fazlullah exploited this ignorance. He harped on about the 2005 earthquake and warned folks to repent before God punished them again. No more TVs, music or dancing. No more Bollywood movies and dress shopping. Talk about the fun police. The people of Swat Valley were divided. Many saw Fazlullah as the Muslim Robin Hood. Others, like Ziauddin, thought he was a menace. Soon enough, the Taliban started enforcing their beliefs through murder and intimidation. Ziauddin and his school were threatened once again. Hey team, just a reminder, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell. It really helps the channel out, and our next upload could be on something taught in your next class. Thanks, and back to the video. So he wrote a letter to the local newspaper criticising the militant bullies. The newspaper published the letter. They also published Ziauddin's name and the school's address. Oh, heck. The Taliban continued to destroy ancient cultural relics, like the Jahanabad Buddha, and they plundered the emerald mine. They took over many villages in Swat Valley and killed policemen. Since so many businesses had to close, men joined the Taliban in droves, hoping for better lives. Meanwhile, in Islamabad, Pakistan's capital, radicalised young women known as the Burqa Brigade attacked DVD shops with sticks. The government authorities were slow to act, but when they did, things really escalated. In July 2007, the army stormed the Red Mosque in Islamabad, a renowned centre for radicalisation. This resulted in a deadly siege that lasted a week. After this, the Taliban declared war on Pakistan's government and military. The people were now caught between two warring giants, the army and the Taliban. At least the army helicopters dropped tennis balls and toffees for the children in Swat Valley, not bombs. School kept Malala's spirits up during this dark time. Throughout 2008, things got worse with bombings and killings. Fazlullah ramped up his radio sermons about how girls should stay in purda, or seclusion, in the home. So his minions started blowing up schools at night. It was around this time that Ziauddin became the media spokesperson for a group of activists. Their mission was to openly challenge Fazlullah with the power of truth. Gutsy. Soon, Malala started attending meetings with her father. She brought the men tea and listened quietly to their discussions. Ziauddin also encouraged his students, including Malala, to speak out against Talibanization. Thus began Malala's foray into public activism for education rights, first on local TV, then on the national news networks. Although this made her a possible target, Malala always believed that God would protect her. Even so, her efforts seemed futile. By the end of 2008, the Taliban had destroyed over 400 schools. Then they set a deadline for girls to stop going to school. The Taliban had many nasty tactics. One of them was to leave the bloodied bodies of their victims in the town square, often with horrible little notes attached to them. When a young female dancer was murdered in this way, Fazlullah said on Mullah FM that she deserved to die for being immoral. people became inert and silent with fear. But not Malala. In interviews, she dropped truth bombs, saying that the Taliban were abusing Islam. Way to go, Malala! But when Ziauddin's name was mentioned on Mullah FM, Malala and her family became worried. There was no one to protect them. There was some talks of a peace deal between the Taliban and Pakistan's army. Dare they hope? Malala started working with a BBC radio correspondent to describe daily life under the Taliban. It was in the form of a diary, like the diary of Anne Frank. Malala's words were published on the BBC Urdu website and recorded by a voice actor for radio segments. To protect her identity, Malala went under the pseudonym or pen name Gul Makai, the name of a heroine in a Pashtun folktale. Soon, people started talking about the diary of Gul Makai, and Malala could barely contain her secret. This experience taught Malala that words and ideas are more powerful than guns and bombs. But her journey had only just started, and the Taliban's violence continued to escalate. Teachers walked out on their jobs, and many girls stopped coming to school. A journalist from the New York Times arrived in Swat to make a documentary about the Taliban's closure of schools. Guess who was the star? When Malala closed the school gate for the last time in January 2009, she was devastated. Only the boys' school would reopen later. As her tears flooded, Ziauddin comforted her, saying, "You will go to school." Some relief came when Fazlullah, the radio mullah, allowed girls up to 10 years old to return to school. Malala and her friends jumped at this opportunity, even though they were 11 years old. Time for some youthful disguises. By this time, 70% of Swat Valley was under Taliban control. Malala and her friends would see them on their way to school. When news came of a ceasefire between the army and the Taliban, Malala's family were sceptical. The government agreed to actively implement Islamic law in Swat Valley. The Taliban should be happy with that, right? Time to lay down those weapons, fellas. Sadly, the Taliban became even more barbaric. Since the government gave them what they wanted, the Taliban got more confident. That's how bullies work, right? The Taliban took over Swat Valley and announced their expansion south. If the Taliban took over the nation's capital, who would control Pakistan's nuclear warheads? Now the international community was sweating. The Yousafzai family decided to leave Swat Valley. Malala felt like her heart was being ripped out. But they weren't alone. It was a mass exodus. Malala had to leave all her books behind, and her brothers had to leave their pet chickens. That's tough. The Yousafzais had officially become IDPs, or internally displaced people. Imagine being a refugee in your own country. Carrying only the bare essentials, the family travelled to Shangla. Ziauddin went on to Peshawar to alert everyone about what was happening in Swat. Since the Taliban didn't control Shangla yet, Malala went to school and was the only girl who didn't cover her face. After 6 weeks, the family reunited with Ziauddin in Peshawar. From there, they travelled together to the nation's capital, Islamabad. Malala and Ziauddin attended a big meeting with the American envoy to Pakistan and Afghanistan, Ambassador Richard Holbrooke. Being a plucky young woman, Malala sat next to him and asked him point blank to help girls get an education. He must have been taken aback because he kind of just laughed her off. He said Pakistan already had lots of problems. Thanks, Captain Obvious. When Malala's 12th birthday came around, it was a fizzer. No cake, no candles. Everyone forgot. This was upsetting for her, but mostly She just missed her valley. They just bounced around to 4 cities in 2 months. Would they ever return to their beloved Swat? We hope you enjoyed this schooling online production. For more easy lessons, check out our other videos.